Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of the Sporting Fix. It's going to be a little bit different today. Obviously, throughout the weekend we haven't witnessed any footy games, but I mean, that's fine because I guess we can just introduce another sport. It's a perfect time to do so. I did mention that it's not just about footy, but it is about footy a little bit today, but it's also, what a better way to introduce cricket to the podcast today with the Aussies and the BBL draft and everything to do with that sport, seeing as there was no footy on this weekend. We'll still talk about footy. We'll talk about a few of the trades and then, just a bit about the cricket and see what's going on in that aspect of the sport. But let's just get straight into it. So we'll go into the footy and then we'll leave the cricket later on. There wasn't obviously any games on the weekend, but that's fine because there was still a lot of information and news surrounding the sport. There were a lot to deal with Essendon, with Darcy Parish, Nick Bryan and Harrison Jones, and a few, signing contracts for that club. Caleb Poulter as well, Jake Lever. But we'll get to all of those ones a bit later on. Throughout this year, Nick Bryan until 2025. He's a ruckman. I guess he's good for the future with no Phillips. But they do have Draper. It'll be interesting to see how he will go in the season. So Nick Bryan, until 2025 he's signed a contract. So now another one, Darcy Parish until 2028. This is a 5-year extension. It is massive. There's only one word that can describe the contract, and it is massive. It's a massive 5-year deal. He's a massive player. Him and Merritt, I know he hasn't played all the games, Darcy Parish, but he's been really, really good for quite some time. This season, he's averaged 30 disposals. He's played 18 games out of the 24, but obviously due to injury and everything has set him back a little bit, but he's good. He's averages 14 contested possessions, 7 clearances. So the 5-year contract is really, really massive for the red and the black. Caleb Poulter, another young kid. He's signed until 2024. He deserves a chance, obviously being at Collingwood and delisted. He's been solid this year. Hopefully he will grow into something quite special next year and into the future. I really would like to see the kid grow in football. Jake Lever, 4-year extension. How good's that for the Demons? He's such a dynamic defender, isn't he? He's got an average of 8.3 intercept possessions, and throughout this season, all the games combined, he's got a disposal efficiency of 86.6% for the year. So it's big news for Melbourne, big news for Jake Lever, and hopefully he can produce something, maybe even a flag throughout his time in the AFL. Sam Flanders for the Gold Coast. I mentioned a little bit earlier on in a couple of previous podcasts about how this bloke has really shined, and it's big news again for the Gold Coast. This year was obviously his breakout season. It's just massive for the club and himself. He's got an average of 24.2 disposals, 8 of them contested. Not a lot else to be said. He's 22 years old. He's got a lot of games ahead of him, a lot of football ahead of him, and hopefully he can produce something special in the next few years. I just want to, get the monkey off the back in a way. I did mention this podcast is pretty serious in a way, but there always is that sort of inner beast in someone that you just got to release, and I feel like this is the moment to do so. So we're going to the Essendon Football Club. Harrison Jones. I want to start with this bloke. He and Essendon have agreed to sign a contract that will last 1 year until the end of 2024. Okay, not too bad, all right? Not too bad. Before I start, I would like to warn the following viewers about, the content that you'll hear. There might be a little bit inappropriate for some viewers. So if you do wish to skip, probably skip a couple of minutes and then return to the podcast. But before we get started, Harrison Jones, him and Essendon have signed a 1-year contract for 1 year until the end of the 2024 season. Now, the bloke, you think, yeah, right, good on him, until you realise that he has played 5 games for the season. Now, okay, he's played 5 games for the season. That is well and truly not enough. It just shows where his skills are at. It shows where he is at as a footballer. This bloke, he was solid. He was really, really solid, I guess, at the start of his career. But this year, he has dropped off so much. Like, I cannot describe. It's almost as if he's been spending the year spiders. He's literally been doing nothing. Before we go into the stats and just, I guess, say how he's travelled this season, I want to, with all due respect to Harry, he's probably a lovely bloke. He's a solid footballer earlier on, but this year he has been deplorable. This season, he's played 5 games. 5 games out of the full 24. That is so bad. So bad. He's named as a key forward. He is a key forward. He doesn't play like one. He averages 0.6 marks on a lead. I mean, seriously, if you're a key forward, mark the pill on the run. That's one of them. 0.6 marks on a lead. I'll tell you what, if I'm Essendon, I got to get this bloke some new pair of mitts because he has to hold him to the pill and he has to lead. As a key forward, you've got to get more than 0.6 of a mark. I mean, give me a spell. 0.2 tackles inside 50. So we talk about forward pressure. We talk about how important and crucial it is in a game of football, especially you being a forward. You need to provide that another, I guess, aspect in the forward 50, but this bloke doesn't. I mean, 0.2 tackles inside 50. If you're not even registering a tackle a game, that's something. But to register 0.2 of a tackle inside 50? I mean, if I was the defender, it's like shelling peas. I feel like I could get out there and verse him and be a defender and walk around him like a witch's hat. I mean, seriously. I'm rank at football, but I feel like I could at least walk around. It's like the stats that he has produced is seriously anyone, a person that hasn't touched a football. If you see he averages 0.2 tackles inside 50, I would be over the moon. So over the moon. It's just a shame for him and Essendon. You just want your forwards to do a bit of work. He doesn't mark on a lead. If he doesn't do that, please tackle Harry. But no, he doesn't. He gets 0.2 tackles inside 50. On top of that, you want your forwards to kick goals. Well, I tell you what, this bloke can't kick a goal to save his life. If you want to look at his accuracy for this season, it is more than deplorable. It is completely embarrassing. 28.6% percentage. And yes, I just repeated myself. It has to be repeated. I'll say it again. 28.6% accuracy in front of the big sticks. Seriously, you're given 1 more year, Harry. You better use it next year. It's either this, it's either now, it's either never. You're a forward, Harry. You're a forward. You only get a couple of chances. You take them. Oh, yes, you better take them. 28.6% accuracy in front of goal. As a key forward, there's no word that can describe that despicable act. It is despicable. Because you almost think as if he's not trying. I mean, you'd have to fall over. You'd have to be blind. I feel like a blind man could do better than that. It's just really, really concerning. He was okay earlier on in the season, as I explained, but I just sort of had to get off. I had to get the monkey off the back. It's been building up throughout the whole year, and you guys are probably shocked what you've just listened if you have listened to it, and I do apologise. I just had to get off my back. Wow, if I do lose my voice, that is clearly why. So that's the contracts that have been set. We'll now go to where players could end up at the end of the season. So we'll go to Asava Radagalier. There's been a bit of controversy, a bit of talk going around this bloke about he could be going to the Hawks or Port, but the Hawks are in the box seat. This is through Sam Edmund in SEN. He explained that Asava Radagalier could end up at the Hawks. I feel like that would be pretty good for him. He hasn't had a massive run at Geelong. He hasn't been, I guess, given the chance. Obviously, I don't think a lot of Geelong supporters appreciate what he does, but maybe he could end up at another club and try and shine. It would be good for him and, the club who he ends up with. Matt Crouch, I hope he goes somewhere else. He really needs to receive the recognition and the games he deserves. He's been so good for the Crows ever since his comeback. He just hasn't been given a chance, really. There was talk about him going to Sydney on a multi-year deal, and whatever he does, I just want to see this bloke get out on the footy field and play some footy. When he does, he is so good to watch, and the team just, I guess, walks a little bit taller with him in the side. So big news around him, whether he'll stay at Adelaide or move to Sydney or maybe even a different club. It'll all come down to this pre-season. Yeah, so while we were listening through the podcast, we heard some news about Matt Crouch. He has officially re-signed with Adelaide on a 2-year contract with the Crows, so big news for him and Adelaide. Good on him. He deserves a multi-year deal. He's got one, and hopefully he can do well in the future. Liam Henry. There's a bit of talk around this bloke. Obviously, he's at Fremantle at the moment, but he said he wants to be in Melbourne at his home with his family. There was a few clubs chasing after him, one of them being the Hawks and the other being North Melbourne, but I feel like the Hawks again are in the box seat because it's interesting because Tyler Brockman from the Hawks, he wants to go to Perth, and Liam Henry wants to come from Perth and go to Melbourne, so they'll probably get their way there and do a few trades from that area. So the Hawks will get Henry probably and give Freo Brockman if that's true. It was from SEN on Sam Edmund again. So, it'll be interesting to see how or where Liam Henry will end up at the end of the year as well. Brodie Grundy, this bloke, he's been dominating the VFL. He just hasn't been given the chance in the AFL with Gawn in the side. He was only playing for Melbourne when Gawn was injured. But I feel like Port Adelaide, they want him. I feel like Port, they're suitable for him. He would really fit in nicely in the team. Obviously, having a really solid, solidified ruckman with heaps of skill would increase Port's chances throughout the midfield and everything else, really. Gawn and Grundy, they thought the linked up duo will help the club, but it's actually just, I guess, torn them apart. Grundy not playing any games at all, dominating VFL and not giving him a chance. So hopefully he can go somewhere. We all love it when we see Grundy on the footy field. So hopefully, he ends up at a new club and dominating like he always usually does. Bailey Williams with a 3-year deal. He hasn't been outstanding this year, but he's a veteran and the Dogs know what they want from him, and I guess he gives it to them throughout the year. So not a lot to be said there. Now, Geelong, they've delisted a couple of players, Sam Simpson, Cooper White and Oscar Riccardi. Simpson's been there for a couple of years. He's played a couple of games but hasn't really had a breakout season yet. So, he'll get delisted and maybe another club will pick him up. Cooper White's only played a couple of games. Oscar Riccardi, haven't heard a lot much from him. So, Geelong delisting a couple of their young players. And then earlier on today, we saw Daniel Rich retiring. It was sort of a shock. He is in his 30s, but Brisbane, they're in the finals. He will contribute to that. But I feel like the bloke, what he's done in tough times, Brisbane was such a poor team a few years ago that Daniel Rich was really their only shining hope, and what he's done for the club has been remarkable, really. So good on him. He deserves to win a premiership. I don't know whether they will this year, but it's just good to see the bloke in the finals, and we'll try and salute him off during the finals week. So good on Daniel Rich. Now, football, there wasn't a lot obviously, to talk about apart from that. But what better way to introduce a new sport than cricket right now? Australia versus South Africa in the T20s. Australia, they were just embarrassed the Proteas with a clean sweep in the T20. It was off the back of really Mitchell Marsh captaincy, which was really, I guess, tearing the games to shreds. We look at the T20s and we saw Australia in Game 1 demolish them by 111 points. This is a T20, remember. So 111 points is literally like, there's no word to describe it. It is as good as it can get. Australia batting first, making 226 with only 6 wickets lost. Mitch Marsh, since coming into the Ashes, he's been an inspiration to all Aussies. 92 not out of 49 with a strike rate of 187. Tim David, he's been threatening. He's such a powerful hitter through the Big Bash in the IPL. 64 of 28 with a strike rate of 228. So he was really, really threatening, and yeah, they linked up massively. And then in return, so South Africa went out to bat and they got rolled for 115. It was very embarrassing. Tanveer Sangha on debut, 4 for 31. Good on him. He was the first player in Australian cricket to take 4 wickets. So yeah, massive news for him. It was just really good. He deserved a chance, and he's taken his chance, I guess. So yeah, he's first Australian to take 4 wickets in a men's T20 before their 22nd birthday. So he's a young gun. He's producing wickets, and hopefully he will stay in the team as long as he can and produce even some more gold. So now we go to the second match, and Australia winning by 8 wickets. South Africa batting first and making 164 runs with 8 wickets lost. It was off the back of Nathan Ellis, 3 for 25. He's very economical. He's been economical in the Big Bash, and he was then Sean Abbott, 3 for 22. And then in reply, Matt Short, he didn't get the praise, I guess. He didn't really deliver in the first match, but he certainly did in the second match, 66 off 30. And then Mitch Marsh again. This bloke just impresses every single game. 79 off 39 with a strike rate of 202. So he is demolishing. And then we go to the third match where Australia clean swept South Africa off. Really a heads blitz. He scored 91 off 48. He blitzed it around the park. South Africa came into bat first and made 190, which is quite a solid score in a T20, but Australia skillful enough to chase it down with 2 overs left. So they scored 191 off 17.5 overs. That is remarkable from the Aussies. They'll have a lot of confidence in their T20 ability now. We go into the Australian batting, and yeah, Marcus Stoinis 37 off 21 not out. Josh Inglis 42 off 22, but Head was the standout obviously with 91 off 48 balls with a strike rate of 189. The bowling, I guess it was led by Sean Abbott, 4 for 31. And then Marcus Stoinis with a couple of wickets, and then Tanveer Sangha with the single. So a wrap-up of that South Africa T20 International. It was really, really promising signs for Australia. The most runs in the series was Mitch Marsh with 186, and then second was Travis Head with 115. So it was a massive gap there. And then the strike rate, we have a look, and it's Tim David, the most for Australia, 216. So Mitch Marsh scored that many runs with a strike rate of 186. That is so, so promising. As a skipper, he's stood up and he's delivered as usual. Sean Abbott, most wickets with 8. But it'll be all eyes turning to the ODIs, where there's 5 matches being held starting on Thursday, the 7th of September. I wonder how the Australians will go. They are ranked number 1 in ODIs, so hopefully for Australia's point of view, they can deliver the goods in South Africa. Now, that's international cricket wrapped up. We now go to domestic cricket, where we see the BBL draft. It was held on Sunday. There was a lot going on. The Stars got a lot out of it. They obviously got the number 1 pick and they chose Harry Brook, who he hasn't been great in BBL, but he has been class. We know what he can deliver on the big stage. He is a powerful hitter. He was playing for the Hurricanes a few years ago and he didn't really deliver how people would expect him to. But hopefully when he's in the green, he can deliver big scores and try and, I guess, give the Stars a bit of hope this season. They haven't been great for too long. So hopefully Harry Brook can deliver it. The Stars, they also got Harris Ralph. He's a veteran at the club. He's taken a hat-trick at the G. He just brings that X factor. He brings that energy. He brings that skill. And, yeah, he's just been a massive asset, and they'll be happy with how they chose, I guess. And then lastly, they chose a 2-metre leggy named Osama Mir. There's not a lot heard from him. We haven't seen a lot from him. It'll more just see how he delivers himself on the big stage. I feel like the first match he plays in is almost his most crucial. We haven't seen a lot from him, so whatever he does at the start, we'll probably see how he, I guess, will play in the future. Hopefully he can do well in a Stars point of view. The Sixers, it was interesting because they had 3 picks and they took all Poms. So they got Tom Curran, James Vince and Rehab Ahmed. Now, all of them are from England. James Vince and Tom Curran have been at the Sixers for quite some time. We know what they can do. Curran offers both bat and bowl, and James Vince, a powerful hitter in the top order. Rehab Ahmed, I haven't heard a lot of him. I don't think people have heard a lot about him too. Again, it's similar to Osama Mir about how they perform in the first match. I guess will set up how teams will look at him in the future. So yeah, first impressions are always the best. They were the Renegades now. They finished 3rd last year. They only picked 2 from the draft, but they were good picks. They got Quinton de Kock, who is a keeper. Obviously, they traded Adam Zampa. They got Adam Zampa from the Stars and they traded Sam Harper to the Stars from the Renegades. They needed that keeper and they got Quinton de Kock, who is a very good keeper, who is a very good striker, and that is such a good pickup considering they left Harper to the Stars. And then Majib, he was at the Heat for some time. He was at the Renegades. We know what he can do. He's a classy off spinner. And yeah, we know what he produces week in, week out. So yeah, it was good for the Renegades. I feel like finishing 3rd, they'd take those picks and they'll be happy with that. Scorchers, they're trying to keep their domestic list strong and secure. So they only picked 2 who were English, Laurie Evans being one of them. That he's got the Scorchers have had Laurie Evans for a little bit. He is a powerful striker. He plays in that middle order. He sees the ball like beach balls, but they also got Zach Crawley, who was the main one. So obviously striking the first ball of the Ashes through the covers was a big sign. He's going to bring that Baz ball to the BBL, Zach Crawley. Yeah, not a lot to be said there. Perth Scorchers, we heard from Adam Voges that he is looking to keep his domestic side nice and secure. The Strikers, Rashid Khan, they'll keep him. He's been their rock, I guess, for so long. He loves the city of Churches, he explained, and he'll probably stay there for quite some time. They had Adam Hose, who also has been at the Strikers for for last year as well. And then Jamie Overton, we haven't heard a lot from him. Obviously, being a Pom, is an all-rounder. It'll be interesting to see what he delivers on the big stage. This is the main one. So the Hurricanes, they picked Chris Jordan, which is a pretty good pick. He's very dynamic. He offers a lot with the ball. He's a very, very good fielder. Sam Hain as well. We know what he can do. We've seen glimpses from him. He can hit a ball a mile. But then this bloke, so Corey Anderson, he is from America. I've never seen an American be in the BBL. I don't think there has been an American in the BBL until now. He's an all-rounder. It'll be very interesting to see how he goes on the Aussie pitches. Sydney Thunder, only 2 picks. Alex Hales, who's been there, he's been as old as the hills at the Sydney Thunder. And then Zaman Khan, haven't seen a lot from him, is a bowler. He'll probably produce something special, as all the internationals do. And then lastly, Brisbane Heat, Colin Munros, but he was at the Heat last year. The way he can just get off the mark immediately with a 6 is unbelievable. The way he advances to the crease, walks in under pressure, and then keeps his team in it is just so good. So it's a big pickup for them. Sam Billings, he's been there before. And then Paul Ward, I haven't seen a lot from him. So these unknown, not really well-known players, it'll be interesting to see how they go in the BBL. So I guess that wraps up the BBL draft. We wrapped up the cricket. There's not a lot more. There wasn't any, I guess, real sport to talk about in footy sense. There wasn't a lot in cricket apart from just the 3 T20s. But it'll be a big week of cricket ahead with 5 ODIs. And then footy finals coming up this week. It's a massive week of sport coming up. I'm excited. I'm so excited, actually, to start getting behind the TV and just embracing every sport that comes my way. 5 ODIs of cricket, footy matches. It's just a dream. If you love sport, it's a weekend of dreams, really. So, yeah, pumped for that. We'll be recapping next week the cricket and, of course, the footy finals. So thank you so much, everybody, for listening. A little bit of a shorter podcast, obviously with no sport in the AFL. But thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed your listen. Just had to get the monkey off the back early on. I appreciate you guys for respecting that. But nah, I love Harry Jones. He's been good at the start. I shouldn't start. Let me just stop talking. Thank you, everybody, for so much for listening, and I'll see you next week.